The house was silent, but not peaceful. Every corner of Halliday's mansion echoed with the weight of words unspoken and wounds unhealed. As she returned from Lucas and Ivy's wedding, something inside her had shifted. She had expected to feel jealousy, perhaps rage. But instead, she felt empty. Her husband, Faisal, didn't even notice her return. As always, he was sprawled across the living room couch, scrolling through his phone with that smug, indifferent look on his face. A half-drunk glass of whiskey rested on the side table beside him. The television blared, but the room still felt unbearably quiet. "You're late," he muttered without looking up. Halliday didn't respond. She had stopped answering that kind of comment months ago. It always led nowhere. "You went to see Lucas, didn't you?" he added, eyes still glued to his screen. That got her attention. She turned sharply. "And if I did?" Faisal finally looked up, smirking. "And he still didn't take you back, did he?" Halliday's jaw clenched. The man she had married out of pride and revenge was now the mirror of everything she resented. He was sharp-tongued, emotionally absent, and worst of all, cruel in the ways that cut deep without ever lifting a hand. "You're drunk again," she said coldly, turning away to leave. "Of course I am," he laughed bitterly. "Wouldn't you be? Living in this prison with a woman who's always mourning a man she let go?" That stopped her in her tracks. "You think I don't see it?" he continued, voice rising. "You think I don't notice how you look at your phone every time his name pops up in the news? You think I don't hear you crying at night when you think I'm asleep?" She turned back to him, but her face showed no anger, only sadness. "You're not wrong," Halliday said quietly. "I did love him. And I ruined it. But I chose you, Faisal. I made that choice. And now I'm living with it." He stood up, now fully alert, something flickering in his eyes. "No, Halliday. You didn't choose me. You used me to make him jealous. To prove a point. And now, you're stuck with a man you don't respect. And I'm stuck with a woman I can't even touch without feeling like a placeholder." For a long moment, they both stood in the silence, breathing heavily, the truth between them raw and painful. But then, Faisal said something she didn't expect. "I'm done pretending, Halliday. I want a divorce." The words hit her like a slap. "What?" she whispered. "I've already met someone else," he said. "Someone who doesn't carry another man's name in her heart." Halliday stared at him, her world spinning again. She had just begun to recover from one loss, and now here she was, watching another crumble before her eyes. "But there's more," Faisal said coldly, walking toward her. "You think you're the only one who can dig into people's pasts? I know things about you, Halliday. Things you wouldn't want getting out." "What are you talking about?" she asked, voice shaking. He leaned in, whispering, "That business deal in Dubai. The offshore account you hid. The charity fund you redirected. You thought I wasn't watching?" Her face paled. She had kept those secrets buried for years. "If you try to take anything in this divorce," Faisal said calmly, "I'll bury you. Legally. Financially. Socially." She backed away slowly, heart pounding. "You used me, Halliday. But now I'm going to use you to clear my debts, build my reputation, and leave you with nothing." And with that, he walked away, leaving her standing in the middle of the marble floor, shaking, her perfect world crashing again, this time, from within. The marble floor beneath Halliday's feet suddenly felt ice-cold, like it was swallowing her whole. She stood frozen for what felt like hours, but it was only minutes. Minutes since Faisal dropped the bomb. A divorce. A threat. A betrayal that mirrored the one she had once inflicted on Lucas, only this time, she wasn't the one walking away. She wasn't grieving Faisal. She was grieving the fact that once again, she had handed her heart to a man who knew only how to hurt it. Halliday moved like a ghost through the hallways, her mind spinning with thoughts and shadows. The Dubai deal. The offshore account. The charity fund. Things no one was supposed to know. How did he find them? "He's been watching me, like I watched Lucas," she whispered to herself, eyes wide with realization. And now he had someone else. Someone younger, no doubt. Someone he would parade through town while trying to strip Halliday of everything she had left. But Halida wasn't the same woman who had once broken down in a bathroom stall over Lucas. This time, she wasn't going to cry. The next morning, Halida stood in front of the mirror, her reflection staring back at her like a challenge. No makeup. No perfect outfit. Just her bare and bruised, but not broken. She picked up her phone and made a single call. "Binta," she said when the line connected. "You sound different," Binta replied cautiously. "Is it time?" Halida's voice was calm. "Yes. Let's begin." Within 48 hours, Halida had mobilized what many had forgotten she possessed: power, connections, and secrets of her own. She had once walked among Lagos elite, rubbing shoulders with politicians, businessmen, and influencers. And during that time, she had seen and heard a lot. She pulled out an old flash drive from her safe. Years ago, she had kept it for protection. Now, it would be her weapon. It contained records, dirty deals Faisal had struck behind closed doors, private recordings of conversations, names of people he had bribed, even the real identity of his new mistress, Tamara, whose past wasn't as clean as Faisal believed. Meanwhile, Faisal was celebrating. He had no idea what was coming. He took Tamara to a rooftop dinner, boasting about how he was finally free from his high-maintenance wife. Tamara giggled at every joke, swirling wine between her fingers, her eyes gleaming with ambition. "She'll hand over the assets. Trust me," Faisal said smugly. "Halida's not a fighter. She's all heels and handbags." But he was wrong. Back at the mansion, Halida smiled darkly as she watched a drone clip footage of Faisal and Tamara kissing on the rooftop. Her private investigator had delivered the goods, and now she had all the evidence she needed. She pulled up an email. Subject: confidential to Business Weekly, Lagos Times, Sahara Reporters. Attached: a folder titled The Truth About Faisal Bello. That night, the internet exploded. Every major blog, news channel, and gossip page in Nigeria was flooded with leaks: Faisal's shady business, his financial crimes, and shocking details about Tamara's hidden past. Turns out, Tamara had been married before to a foreign fraudster now serving a jail term. She'd changed her name, hidden her identity. Faisal had been played by a woman just as ruthless as himself. And Halida. She watched it all unfold, calm as a still lake. The next morning, Faisal stormed into the house. "You did this," he roared. "You ruined me." Halida was already dressed in a black silk gown, sipping tea in the sunroom. She didn't flinch. "You declared war, Faisal," she said smoothly. "I just responded." His hands trembled. "You'll go down with me." She stood slowly and walked up to him, inches from his face. "No. You'll go down alone. And if you ever try to use my past against me again, I will make sure you disappear from every board, every event, and every invitation list in this country. Do you understand me?" Faisal was silent. For the first time, afraid. Halida leaned in closer. "I may have lost Lucas. But you were never a loss. Just a lesson." The news spread like wildfire, faster than any of Faisal's dirty deals ever had. By the time he reached his office, Faisal's phone was flooded with missed calls, his lawyer, the police, and his associates all begging for answers. But it was too late. The damage had already been done. The police arrived at his mansion in the afternoon. Faisal, now trembling and disoriented, stared at the officers who knocked on his door. "Mr. Faisal Bello," the officer asked, holding up a warrant. "You're under arrest for financial fraud, embezzlement, and conspiracy. You have the right to remain silent." Faisal's face turned ashen. He had been on top of the world one moment, and now he was in a prison cell the next. The evidence was damning: hidden accounts, fake business transactions, and manipulated charity funds. It didn't matter that he had tried to destroy Halida or that he thought he could bury her past. His own skeletons had come crawling out of the closet. As the officers cuffed him, his mind raced back to that moment when he had thought he could get away with everything. When he thought Halida wouldn't fight back. Now, she had taken everything from him. His wealth, his reputation, his freedom. And with that, he was taken away, his fate sealed. The divorce proceedings were swift. Faisal had no power, no bargaining chip, and no leverage left. Halliday's legal team, now armed with proof of his crimes, tore through his defenses like wolves on prey. Halliday had watched it all from a distance. She wasn't celebrating his downfall, not exactly, but there was something cathartic in seeing him face consequences for his actions. She didn't want his wealth. She didn't want his power. What she wanted was freedom from his manipulations, his cruelty, and the life he had entangled her in. She wanted to move on, even if it meant rebuilding from scratch. The day the papers were signed, Halliday stood alone in the garden, the sunlight glistening on her skin. She didn't smile. She didn't feel victorious. She simply felt empty and yet, strangely, free. Her lawyer handed her the final divorce papers. "Done," he said with a hint of satisfaction. Halliday took a long breath, looked at the sky, and then at the empty mansion behind her. She wasn't just free of Faisal, she was free of all the bitterness she had carried for so long. The news of Faisal's arrest was everywhere. It reached the ears of Lucas and Ivy, who were preparing for their honeymoon on a quiet beach far from the noise of Lagos. Ivy turned to Lucas, holding up her phone, her fingers trembling as she scrolled through the headlines. Faisal Bello arrested for fraud, former wife Halliday involved in exposing his crimes. Lucas didn't say anything at first. He looked at the article, then at Ivy, his face clouded with something hard to decipher. "I feel sorry for her," Ivy said softly, setting the phone down. "I didn't expect her life to unravel like this." Lucas nodded, his thoughts distant. He had never wanted Halliday's life to end like this. He had cared for her once, and despite the bitterness and the betrayal, part of him felt pity for her. "She's the one who chose it," he finally said. "She didn't have to get involved with a man like Faisal." Ivy sat beside him on the balcony, leaning her head on his shoulder. "Still, that doesn't mean she deserves everything that's happening. It's sad." Lucas looked out at the horizon, his voice low. "Such is life, Ivy. You can't cry over spilled milk. Halliday made her choices. And so did I." Ivy smiled faintly, nodding. "True. We can only move forward." Back in Lagos, as the days passed and Faisal's arrest became old news, Halliday knew that the only way forward was through, not around. She spent her time meeting with business partners she hadn't spoken to in years, attending charity galas, and rebuilding the life she had once taken for granted. She knew this wasn't the end. She had lost her past, her marriage, her status, her wealth, but she had gained control over her future. No one was going to define her anymore. As the final remnants of her life with Faisal crumbled away, Halliday looked ahead. There were still new challenges waiting for her. But this time, she was prepared. After the honeymoon had come to a peaceful close, Lucas and Ivy returned to Lagos, refreshed and filled with a sense of love and unity. They had shared quiet moments together, savoring the warmth of their bond, and their future looked brighter than ever. But even as they basked in the glow of their happiness, their thoughts lingered on someone else. Halliday. It had been months since the arrest, and while the media frenzy had died down, Halliday was still struggling to rebuild her life. She had lost everything, her marriage, her wealth, and even her sense of identity. Now, she was starting from scratch, trying to regain control over her shattered existence. The weight of her past still clung to her like a shadow, but she was fighting to step into the light. One afternoon, Lucas and Ivy visited her at the modest apartment she had rented. The once grand mansion now felt like a distant memory, a chapter of her life she wished to leave behind. Halliday greeted them with a tight smile, her eyes betraying the exhaustion that had consumed her over the past few months. "How are you?" Ivy asked gently, her voice full of compassion. Halliday paused, her gaze drifting toward the small furniture, the boxes of papers, and the stacks of bills scattered across the room. "Still, trying to find my footing," she admitted, her voice faltering. "It's hard. But I'm getting there. Slowly." Lucas placed a hand on her shoulder, his touch warm and reassuring. "You don't have to do this alone, Halliday." Halliday looked up, her eyes widening in surprise. "What do you mean?" Ivy exchanged a glance with Lucas before turning back to Halliday. "We've been through a lot, and I know things have been difficult for you. But we're offering you a chance to start over," Ivy said with a soft smile. "We've decided to assist you financially." Just a little something to help you get back on your feet. Halida blinked in disbelief. You want to help me? Lucas nodded, his voice steady. You've been through enough. It's time for you to have a chance at something better. We believe in second chances. Tears welled up in Halida's eyes as she struggled to find words. She had spent so long alone, fighting battles with no one by her side. But here they were, Lucas and Ivy, offering her a hand when she had once tried to tear them apart. I don't know what to say, she whispered, her voice thick with emotion. You don't have to say anything, Ivy said, walking over and giving her a warm hug. Just know we're here for you. With the support of Lucas and Ivy, Halida began the long and challenging process of rebuilding her life. She used the money to invest in a small business venture, one that would allow her to stand on her own. She worked tirelessly, refusing to let her past define her, and little by little, things began to fall into place. Halida's resilience and determination paid off. The woman who once walked through life feeling lost and broken was now fixing herself, piece by piece, finding strength in the lessons of her past and the love she had once taken for granted. Meanwhile, Lucas and Ivy's love continued to flourish. Their bond grew stronger with each passing day, their relationship a testament to second chances and unwavering commitment. They faced life's challenges together, hand in hand, knowing that their love had been tested and proven to be unbreakable. And as the days turned into months, and the months into years, all three of them found what they had been searching for. Halida found redemption not in the riches she had once sought, but in the quiet satisfaction of starting anew, in the strength to rise from her mistakes, and in the kindness of those she had once wronged. Lucas and Ivy's love was no longer just a story of a man and woman finding their way back to each other. It was a story of forgiveness, growth, and the healing power of love that had been tested by time and adversity. And as for Halida, she wasn't the woman she used to be. She had learned from her past, and now she walked with her head held high, knowing that, sometimes, the hardest battles bring the greatest rewards. Value love when it's given to you. Halida did not value Lucas's love when he gave it to her freely. She took it for granted, thinking it would always be there. Lesson: don't take love for granted because it may not always be available when you need it. Don't marry for the wrong reasons. Halida married Faisal to prove a point, not out of genuine love. She sought status and material wealth, but it only led to a broken marriage. Lesson: marrying for the wrong reasons, such as pride, wealth, or showing off, can never lead to lasting happiness. True love requires effort and sacrifice. Faisal was emotionally distant and never worked on improving himself. His neglect and refusal to change drove Halida further away. Lesson: love requires effort, communication, and personal growth. If one partner is unwilling to grow or work on themselves, the relationship will fail. Second chances can lead to great things. Ivy, once homeless and used by Lucas to make Halida jealous, found her true love and second chance in Lucas. Their bond grew from a painful start to a fulfilling future. Lesson: never underestimate the power of second chances. Sometimes, the greatest transformations and relationships come from the most unexpected beginnings. Self-improvement is key to happiness. Faisal's refusal to improve himself emotionally or mentally was one of the reasons his relationship with Halida failed. Lesson: work on yourself. Personal growth is essential for a healthy, loving relationship. If you don't improve, you'll lose the ones you care about. It's never too late to start over. Despite losing everything, Halida found the strength to rebuild her life, not through money, but through self-determination. Lesson: no matter how many mistakes you make, it's never too late to rebuild your life and find happiness again. Every day is a chance to start fresh. Life is about forgiveness, growth, and moving on. Lucas and Ivy's love grew because they learned to forgive, grow from their past mistakes, and move forward together. Lesson: forgiveness, growth, and moving on are the foundations of a healthy and lasting relationship.